nobody gotta do for me. What I do when I do it so beautifully. All I gotta stay is true to me. Yep. Stay winning is a mood to me. Hey, ain't nobody gotta do for me. Yep. What I do when I do it so beautifully. All I gotta stay is true to me. Yep. Stay winning is a mood to me. Hey, hey, I say.
In 2019, HUSTLE Winston-Salem facilitated a community conversation at the Hispanic Latinx Think Tank. This initiative was led by members of the Hispanic community, and we encourage, as you listen to their stories and hear the response of our ecosystem partners, that you continue the conversations towards a solution to a more inclusive Winston-Salem.
Today we are capturing the stories of a few selected individuals of our community in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, post a think tank we had where we got some foundational knowledge on just the landscape of economic mobility and entrepreneurship, and we did look at it through the lens of the social determinants of health. And we hope that this stimulates change, stimulates policy adjustments, and we also hope that this stimulates more desire to capture the stories that aren't being heard in our Hispanic and Latinx community.
What I've noticed here in Winston-Salem, we mainly have essential businesses such as restaurants and convenience stores. I've also noticed there are having more hospitals and clinics with bilingual, certified bilingual people to working there. We also have more law offices and legal assistance, but we still need much more. What I've been wondering is when is going to be the time when we are going to have full certified bilingual staff in all areas, not only these essential businesses. We still need a lot of bilingual in the health department, accounting, financial and investment. That's something that I've researched everywhere in Winston-Salem. We do not have any at all. And I wish we could, because even for bilingual people, sometimes they feel more confident talking to someone that can understand their own needs. And because we still need a lot of education about that field. In my personal experience, I tried to look for a business for a bilingual investor, financial investor, and there was nothing. They still have to hire interpreters, or you have to go to bigger cities to find those kind of businesses. So that's something that we do need.
Landscaping, plumbing, trade jobs, trade companies and trade jobs mostly.
And what you will see is that our Hispanic entrepreneurs will usually tend to hire Hispanic community members as well. So there is a development of labor force within the Hispanic and Latinx community. So you can see the support not only through the top, but in all levels of business. So I think that is very important, and one of the reasons why the Hispanic and Latinx community movement is so important to focus on.
From an entrepreneurship standpoint, I think business owners are going to be significantly in the areas of food, sales to its own community. You're going to see, and then a lot of services types of businesses that serve the community as a whole. You can see lots of construction, lots of maintenance, janitorial, and those kinds of businesses.
I've seen more of our Latinx community members starting in the entrepreneurial piece, like startups, whether that's retail, a lot of culinary that I've seen as well, but also a lot of tech companies, seeing more tech companies, production companies like the one we're talking about right here, and finding out ways that everybody's starting businesses across the industry. And I think we need to break down some of those perceptions that they're only going to be started in certain areas, because it's a broad reach, and it's a strong community here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County.
From my understanding, that it's much more broad and not really targeted to one specific vertical.
In terms of the types of businesses that our Latino businessmen and women are starting here, I think it's a whole variety, and it's across the scope. There's standard business opportunities there. There's obviously restaurants. There's obviously service industries there, and so many skilled tradesmen, men and women that are here in our community. So it's a good cross section of the businesses that are here.
I think one of the best things that the government or our city or like an organization that can do is give financial education. Because if you have financial education, then you start opening your eyes to more opportunities, and then you start looking for opportunities, and then you make that way happen for opportunities.
I-10 lending. I think that there are many people in our community who have, immigrated and come to the United States, and instead of Social Security, they have an I-10. And I think often a lot of financial institutions see that as someone who is more prone to risk. When in reality, you have a lot of great businesses that have a lot of momentum, a lot of potential, and if they were able to tap into even more resources or funding, they would be able to grow exponentially.
I think one of the policies that we could implement or improve would be training and more certifications, especially because a lot of professional people who come from Hispanic countries, we come here thinking that we will well prepared because we were choosing to follow different guidelines in our country. So when we come to the United States, we face different regulations and restrictions. But sometimes we don't even know where to find that information, where to find that training, where to find those certifications. So I think if we start here in Winston-Salem training the people how to do that, like equivalence, or how to become certified with the United States regulations, that would improve the businesses, because we come with our own training from our countries. So that's challenging.
Well, in terms of assisting the Latino community, certainly we helping with the growth of the economic side of it, for instance. I saw an interesting statistic recently that 1 out of 4 new businesses are started by Latino businessmen and women, which is great. However, then they kind of reach a little plateau, if you will, and barriers to be able to move forward, because generally they use their own savings or family income to get it started, and then they reach a need to grow. Then they're impacted by 3 things. Generally, it's their credit score sometimes not good, lack of access to capital, and then maybe just a lack of a little bit of business acumen on how to take it to that next level. So I think from the city government standpoint, one thing that we can do, and the business community, is to provide access to capital. And we're getting ready to, actually I was announced last week, a new $1.2 million fund that will be making grants to help small businesses, minority businesses in our community. And the board of directors that makes all the decisions will be totally African American or Latino, which is strong. That's a good way of moving it.
As Greater Winston-Salem Inc. and part of our forming of our new organization, we looked at our core values and we looked at what our focus in our industry sectors in economic development, but also in community building. Our tagline is the word together, and we use that word as a charge as well. We realize that we're not there yet. We've got work to do, but if we use the word together in everything that we do, we can be more inclusive as an entire community. And that includes the Latinx community as well. So we are focused on helping serve everyone in our community. Just recently, we announced a great new grant program, the Minority Business Enterprise Grant Program, that is designed for businesses owned and operated by people of color, specifically African American and Latinx business owners. We have raised over $1.2 million to be distributed over the next 5 years. And it's an incredible program. And 100% of our board members for that board making the decisions are African American and Latinx members of our community. So we're really proud of this program. We think it's, we realize that grants aren't going to solve the problem, but we utilize the grants to think about opening the door for better relationships and finding ways to bring each other together, like we've talked about.
I think from a city government in terms of policy, you know, we have a very, very strong policy on minority and women business enterprises, and that is making sure that those companies have an opportunity to participate in city buying, city building projects and things of that nature. I think I behoove you know, a Latino business person to make sure they're aware of all the city programs. We do have an Office of Minority and Business Development here that they can sit down with and get the feel for what kind of programs we have in place. So from that standpoint, I think we're pretty well poised to help. Just folks have to learn to take advantage of it.
Looking for programs like that, like mini incubators where they teach them, okay, here's a different path than the regular path, you know, a path that can teach you financial education and different avenues of how to make money or anything that you're trying to do, because financial education not only helps you make money, but it helps you multiply money, keep money, know how to manage it, multiple things, you know, that you can keep a job and be financially educated and do really well.
I think a lot of the procedures and processes and programming, the way that it's worded, it's intimidating for a lot of their Hispanic and Latinx members who are wanting to start a business. And so what is needed is somebody who can actually put that in terms that they can understand. And the reason why I say this is, coming from a financial institution background, there is a lot of disclosures in those documentations that are very hard to understand if you don't know exactly some of the terminologies. And I think being able to have not only access to programming, but access to programming and have it be easily dissectable to people who've only had a elementary education, I think is important. So no, I don't think there's a lot of people that are engaging, and I think intimidation is a large factor in that.
Through the Small Business Center, the answer would be no. Like I said, only about 5% of our clients are identifying themselves in our system as Hispanic. I could name some people who we've worked with and we enjoy the type of things that they're working on. However, when it comes to our educational events, and we have 15 to 20 each month, not a lot of participation from the Hispanic and Latinx community participate in our events. They're welcome to. Some of that is because we need to improve our outreach to the Hispanic community, and we're doing some things to address that, and by no means do we feel like we're done. We need to do more. But I don't know if the number of the percentage of Hispanic and Latinx members participating is low because of it's our marketing, or if it's because we have topics that aren't of interest. So we need to do a better job of getting on top of both.
There's a lot of programs that could be beneficial, but I think first, even before you start thinking about the programming, my perspective is that you have to, like the Hispanic community in North Carolina specifically is a very young community, young from the standpoint of is a growing community within the state. It might be first generation, it might be recent immigrant. And I think even before they go after programs to help them be entrepreneurs or help us be entrepreneurs, we should learn and accept that we can be entrepreneurs. And so one of the most important programs I think is, and this is more of a long-term view than how do I start my business tomorrow, is more how I think a great program would be how do we teach kids in high school that they can be entrepreneurs, that there's a lot of opportunities out there, and drive them to either start right out of high school with businesses, or choose careers knowing that they might be the first ones in their family to graduate from college if they decide to go to college. Choose careers that actually are going to put them in a position to start businesses that have a large impact. Every business has an impact in the community, so every business is great. There's different levels of business. So I think, yes, there might be a lot of programs, and frankly, I'm not very versed in all of the menu of programs that are available. And one thing this country has, which is amazing, is their support for anybody that looks for it. And I think the biggest opportunity is to letting people know that things are out there and that they are, I guess, that they have the ability, that they have the skills, and if they really want it, that they can also have the aspirations to become entrepreneurs and start businesses.
You might think that is some common sense answers to these layers of challenges. So we have to start peel one by one, right, and together. Also with Hispanic League, I see Hispanic League having such a great organization and help to the Hispanic community. Now they are coming together with other nonprofits like Soy Emprendedor or like helping Greater Winston-Salem to get the word out about the grants program that is it just launched a few weeks ago. So now you're seeing that more. So that, I think that's what is gonna bring our community even stronger and healthier, right, for a better future.
I don't know if I can say that there are enough programs, and to be honest, I don't know enough about what the Hispanic Latinx community needs in terms of that specific programming. I think that's an area that the Innovation Quarter is really trying to understand better and lean into. So I would say I don't know today, but I do think that the work that's being done with Soy Emprendedor, for example, and the College Lift program from Forsyth Tech, formerly the Piedmont Renewal Network. These are programs that are really training the next generation of entrepreneurs and great thinkers. And it's so important that we as a community support that work and support that pipeline development. And so that's what we're really excited about.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's ever enough programming to help anybody get started. I think we have a really strong ecosystem in our community. Really proud of some of the work that our ecosystem partners such as HUSTLE have done in Innovation Quarter. What Innovation Quarter has done to build an inclusive area for people to come and get to know each other and grow. And we're excited to see some of that continue to expand. What I would like to see and what we're focusing on more in our organization and across is that our programming needs to be open to everyone, and we need to make sure that we're thoughtful about our applications and our content being in different languages, making sure that individuals feel invited to participate. I think that's what we talk about in our culture a lot of our organization, is that we want everyone to feel invited and eventually feel that they belong and strive for that sense of belonging. And so I think we can all do a better job of the invitation part and making sure that our programs are viewed to be accepted by everyone and to be intentional about those invitations.
I really don't think that there are we have enough programs. We have a lot of programs here. They're a little more broad-based. So my feeling is that we may need to target a little bit some of our existing programs to specifically some of the needs of the Latino community, particularly in the area of mentoring, perhaps, and helping guide through some of the landmines of small business ownership and development, particularly because most of these businesses are pretty successful when they get started there. And then they need to make that leap to the next level, and that's kind of where we're missing the boat and being able to help make that leap, perhaps.
What I've seen or experienced and where we can be better, it is the connectivity part and having more influence as Hispanics in the community. So I think it is a lot to do in both sides. And I call it the two-way avenue, where us as Hispanics, we are more engaged and more involved in what's going on with the community, and then the part of the profits or non-profits coming together to help the Hispanic community to have access to those resources. Because we have the resources, it's just a part of where we connect and be better in communicating those opportunities.
I guess a way that the community can help their needs by having an open mind. Again, like if you call the number and you need somebody to do anything with construction within your house, have an open mind. Don't let the language be a barrier between you and that person. Find a way to help them work on your house and make it work, and you be really supporting that person's business.
Other ways that our community could help support Hispanic entrepreneurship is to be in the places where Hispanics are to provide that support. Sometimes we're like, yeah, we'll open some workshop, but it's far away, and you have to take into consideration that these are people that are working long hours and have to come back and work even longer at home. And so, how do we make things accessible to them where they are, meet them where they are, and also making things available in Spanish.
We need to listen first. We need to not just say, hey, come here and do this thing. We need to go to them and do that thing and understand what the thing is that is needed. And that's true in every population. So what I think that we should do, the Small Business Center as well as other organizations, is increase its outreach, and not just getting your flyer in front of other people, but getting your ears in front of other people. I think the best thing that anybody can do when they're trying to determine how to meet the needs of others is not to presume that they know the answers, but instead have focus groups or do whatever you need to do to get the input that you need, and then adjust your programming accordingly. Or it may be that your programming is just fine. It's just a matter of maybe you need to locate your programming in a way that is more conducive to more people.
So we all just have to maybe take that extra step as a community and try to really support each other. And that goes back to that word together. We think about it in that togetherness and how we can band together and support each other to keep these businesses opening. Because as soon as those businesses close, it affects us in many different ways. From an economic standpoint, these businesses provide for families, and it means better education, it means better health. It changes the social determinants of health equation if we have people that are gainfully employed and can specifically own their companies. So it's really all tied together, and so we need people to understand that if they can shop locally, especially in a time right now, the impact can be much greater than ever before.
So one initiative that we're really excited about, that we really want the Hispanic Latinx community to know about and participate in, is called IQ Community Labs. This is a virtual and physical hub that pairs traditional and non-traditional partners to ideate and deploy and scale really breakthrough solutions in the health and social equity space. And we have 5 sectors of focus. That includes health equity, minority and women-owned businesses, which we call startup and small business scale, inclusive community. We also have spatial justice and training and workforce development pipeline. So we're really excited about IQ Community Labs and what that can mean to our community. We're not there to necessarily create the solutions, but we want to help bring commercial, non-traditional partners to the table to help scale the work that's already being done.
I would hope that, first of all, they would not see a differential between a Latino business and a majority business, that they're just looking for the best possible service, the best possible food, best possible business service that's being offered by that company, product that they're offering, and just go towards it based on the quality of the service. And I think our community would see that it works very well to do it that way. However, I know that we have to maybe push a little bit harder in that regard, so I would just say maybe our community can make an extra outreach effort to support our Latino businessmen and women and make a little extra effort to go buy a service from there or a product or whatever it might be. Certainly, we as elected officials should reinforce the message to our citizens that we're all in this community together. We're supporting each other and encouraging people to take advantage of the wonderful services and products offered by the Latino community. Unfortunately, right now we don't have a council person that's a Latino council person. I think that's something that'll be coming fairly quickly. And I would just encourage our Latino community to become politically involved and work towards that as elections coming down the road.
I think for what we're trying to do as a community and grow inclusive, diverse, strong economy starts with those relationships. And I think what we as Greater Winston-Salem Inc., as a Chamber of Commerce traditionally, as Greater Winston-Salem Inc. now, we're listening. Innovation Quarter and the work that they've done to bring people together through Hustle, through the other programs, through Venture Cafe, and now Agile City and others. But I think Innovation Quarter has become this place that we can come together and listen to each other, whether that's virtually, in person. We can't start providing opportunities or providing educational things without first understanding what's needed. And I think that's where we are in the phase process right now. So what we need our community members and our business leaders in the Hispanic Latinx community to do is tell us what you need, tell us where the gaps are, so that we can help in the institutionalization of change and making sure that we can change what those processes are to provide those opportunities. But we need to hear that first and foremost, firsthand. So let's continue to drive this conversation forward. Let's listen to each other. Let's build more trust amongst each other. And let's start now so that we can get a lot better as we go forward.
It begins with listening. However, they need to demonstrate their commitment. They need to do some things and be able to discuss how valuable those things are, not only to the Latinx community, but to the broader community. The Latinx community, the Hispanic community, does not want to feel like we're over here and here's our needs, and you're over there and there's your needs. They want to feel integrated into what everybody's needs are and what everybody's challenges are, what everybody's benefits are. So one of the things that I've learned over the years is that too often populations of people are neglected. Sometimes they're neglected because they're not vocal. Many times they're neglected because people are not trying to hear. They're not going out of their way to hear what they have to say or hear how they can meet the needs. But a lot of times they're neglected because the policies in place or the services that are offered are not designed to help different populations of people. So if there are opportunities to change the way that products are delivered or services are delivered, then the elected officials need to be at the forefront to make sure that that happens. But they don't know unless somebody tells them. And they need to be willing to listen, but then they also need to go out of their way to make sure that everybody has a voice. I'm a big believer that our elected officials, city council, for example, they're committed to doing what's best for all of its citizens. However, they focus a lot of their attention when citizens bring to their attention that they have an issue. So it goes both ways. Elected officials need to listen, but then the entire community needs to make sure that their voices are heard. If there are any policies that are in place that may have existed for 10 or 20 or 30 years that may have not intentionally been used today to exclude people, those policies need to be re-examined. There are many policies that were put in place 10, 20, 30 or more years ago that most of the people at the table have no idea how those policies can hurt somebody else. So it's important to have more people at the table who represent different groups. I'll give a couple examples. I'm glad that over the years I've served the city of Winston-Salem on the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Advisory Committee, the City County Planning Board, and the Utilities Commission. Who's at the table matters. Who comes to the meetings and shares their thoughts matters. A lot of times, people from the Hispanic community don't come and share their thoughts. And sometimes they're not on the committees or the commissions or the boards. So all of these things need to change in order for the elected officials to be able to appropriately serve them and represent them.
I think elected officials have huge impact, right? They can see the opportunities. For example, if you have a Hispanic business that is flourishing, or that is starting, I think elected officials have a responsibility to go and understand it and understand what the path was and understand those around them, what can be done to encourage them and support them to be able to get more and more of those. The fact of the matter is, it is underrepresented. The Hispanic community is underrepresented in the entrepreneurial opportunity of this country. And it's a factor of recency. We just arrived. But this country is made of people that just arrive at some point in time. So the elected officials that already understand the system should go to businesses that already exist. That's one opportunity, and understand what their pain points have been, and maybe there's some of those pain points that are in their control. And it's basically just get engaged. And then they should also go and encourage, find settings where our Hispanic community is and where it gathers, and find ways to understand what the needs are and how to support them.
What we're looking for in Soy Emprendedor is two things. One, as I say, was the students and really understanding what is going on in Winston-Salem and why they should stay. And the other one is the small business community for our brown businesses. What is the resources and tools and the funding? Because I know funding is one of the things that as a community overall, we're still learning and understanding. But for example, the grants that the Greater Winston-Salem Inc. just deployed and will continue to do that, we have to let know our brown businesses that's available for them. So definitely a lot to do, but I would like to see that one day that we send, a newsletter, an email, or we have an event and the Hispanic community, they all know that is happening and they can attend, and that is for them, that they feel welcome. That's what I would like to see.
I think organizations and businesses need to be really intentional about knowing what businesses are out there. We at the Innovation Quarter are reviewing our own procurement opportunities, for example. How can we ensure when new opportunities come up to bid that we are looking at those opportunities and being as inclusive as possible? So that's one area that I would encourage others to focus as well.
I am really looking forward what our community can build together, because we have the right people, we have the right intentions, the same goals. We have a great support for corporates, nonprofits, and community overall. So we just want to continue the conversation and see what it takes us next to be a more inclusive and a better community for Winston-Salem.
I feel very proud when I see a Hispanic friend, colleague, or leader here in Winston-Salem or in this county shining and bringing new ideas to the city, because we don't give up. Hispanics, we don't give up. We probably still need to learn much more, but we feel very proud of what we own.
So I think I would encourage everyone to visit the Innovation Quarter website to learn more about the great offerings of programs and events that we offer. Of course, right now many of those are virtual, but hopefully next year we'll pick up on some in-person events. So I would encourage you to stay engaged with what we've got going on and to communicate with us. I mean, I think we're really trying to listen and to learn more about the Latin Hispanic X community and what the needs are of this community within Winston and how we can support it. And anyone is more than welcome to reach out to me directly. If you have a question about anything related to the Innovation Quarter, we'd love to help and find a way for everyone in our community to feel engaged in the work that we're doing here.
The city does a fantastic job. They have a program called Mixer. There's a startup program for businesses, specifically for minority and women-owned businesses in our community, that provide translation services, that provide some directional coaching, maybe not necessarily strategic coaching all the way, but hey, here's how to do it. And here's the steps to take. And then you have these programs in our full stack entrepreneur ecosystem that can help coach you along the way with the strategies. The Small Business Center, for example, the SBTDC launch at Winston-Salem State does a great job, Anthony Abney and his team. And I think there's just a great opportunity in our ecosystem to provide more of that, but understanding that people work different hours and have different commitments outside. And so coming to something at 4 o'clock may not be the best solution. So we need to do a better job of finding ways to put those resources out virtually, online, hotline calls, any other things other options that could be beneficial. But I do believe we have a lot of the coaching that's ready and building the capacity and most importantly, making those matches. Letting people know if you're looking for something, this organization can help you, and putting those individuals together, I think really makes a big difference.
Our desire to help all small businesses to be successful. We know that there's a lot of small businesses, regardless of their minority status, whose challenges are being overlooked and whose needs are not being met. Anything that anybody can do to help us to reach out to and meet the needs of others, we are open to all suggestions and we're open to all support.
We acknowledge the strong impact and contributions that the Latino community makes on Winston-Salem or has on Winston-Salem, and we are all in this together. We're a beautiful city, a multicultural city, and the more we can embrace each other's culture, learn about each other's culture, the more peaceful and positive we'll be as a city and going forward. So I'm thrilled to be a part of this today, and I wish everyone the very best.
Thank you for tuning into this video report. We invite you to visit HUSTLE Winston-Salem's website at hustlews.org, where you can access the raw footage as well as learn about the grant and resource opportunities in Winston-Salem. Most importantly, we want you to reflect on the content and stories that we've gathered. We want you to engage with the participants, and we want you to take action on what you've learned coming out of this video. This isn't where it ends for us. We plan on doing this again. We plan on capturing Winston-Salem Familia perspective across our city. We've only scratched the surface on the voices and stories of the diverse lives, and Winston-Salem has incredible infrastructure, but with that there are gaps, as we've heard. Relationship gaps, accessibility gaps, language barrier gaps, and much more that we've yet to discover. And so, please support our work through HUSTLE Winston-Salem. Thank you.
Ain't nobody gotta do for me what I do when I do it so beautifully. All I gotta stay is true to me. Yep. Stay winning is a mood to me. Hey, ain't nobody gotta do for me. Yep. What I do when I do it so beautifully. All I gotta stay is true to me. Yep. Stay winning is a mood to me. Hey, hey, I said feel that bass.